Now I'm going to show you all of this in practice. I've prepared a simple document, as you can see right here. Now let's create a simple p tag with some text in it. Let's save our file. We can see our p tag in our document object model in our live preview. Let's go to the DevTools. Let's choose the selecting item. Let's pick our p tag right here. Let's go to the Computed tab, scroll a little bit down, click this option Show All, which will show us all the properties with its values for this element. As we can see, we have a lot of them. We can filter them, for example, to search for the properties that are related to text. Now we have text align, text decoration, color, style, line, etc., etc. We can filter it by another word, for example, font, and we can see familiar properties like font family, font size, font style. There should be font weight right here, and we can see it's 400. And at this point, you already know that the 400 means normal. In the system fonts, which is Times New Roman by default, everything between 100 and 400 is normal. Everything above 400 to 900 is bold, where 400 is a default value for normal and 700 is default value for bold. As we know, for custom fonts, we have all the styles from 100 to 900, which can mean light, lighter, bolder, or even black. But for the system fonts, we usually have these two values, 400, which is normal, and 700, which is bold. Now, as you can see, the font weight property is 400, so it's normal. And as we know, this is the initial value for all the elements defined in the official specification. So everything you see here computed by the browser are the initial styles applied to every element created on our website. Now let's create an h1 tag, for example, with some text in it. Let's save our file. We can see the difference in our browser already. Let's check this h1 tag in our document object model, like this. And if we go to the same Computed tab, scroll a little bit down to see the font weight property, we can see it's 700 now. So that means this font weight is bold, as we can see in our browser. As we know, the initial value for the font weight property for all the elements defined in the official specification is normal. We have bold right here. So this is the situation where the default browser styles come in and override the initial styles. Let's go again to the p tag. And you can see that this font weight is faded. And if we click it, nothing actually happens. But if we select our heading, we can see this option is more colorful. We have this little triangle here and we can click it. So let's do it. And if we do, we have an information that this value 700 is defined in the styles as bold for the h1 element, and it's taken from the user agent style sheet. User agent style sheet are the default browser styles. And we can check it going to the Styles tab right here. For the h1, we have all these styles assigned by the browser, which you can see the information right here, which is user agent style sheet. And among others, we have font weight specified to bold. So this is the situation that the default browser styles overwrites the initial styles. And it happens only for certain elements and only for certain properties. Another example of it is the margin property. Let's create a simple div with the text of div. Let's save it. we have our div right here. Let's select it. Let's check its computed properties. Let's search for margin property. And we can see margin bottom 0 pixels, margin left 0 pixels, right and top the same. And we can see these are the initial values because we cannot click it. It's not defined by any style sheet. It's defined by official CSS specification. But let's select our body tag, for example. Now we have our body selected, and now you can see that margin bottom, margin left, margin right, and margin top have the value of 8 pixels. They are not faded anymore, as you can see. You can, for example, click on this property, and you can see it's 8 pixels for the body tag, specified in the user agent style sheet. And we can check it going to the styles tab, where we can see the body and the rule with the margin property and its value set to 8 pixels by the user agent style sheet, which are the styles of the browser. So as you can see, the browser styles are defined only for some elements and only for some properties. And as I said, it's made for the clarity of the text. But now let's create our own CSS styles. Let's go to the head tag. Let's create a style tag in it. And let's create a rule for h1 tag. And let's specify our font weight to normal once again. How do you think? What's gonna happen? Let's save our file. And we can see the difference already in our browser. Our heading is no longer bold. Now its font weight property is set to normal again. Let's see it in the computed tab. Let's select our heading. Go to the computed tab. Let's search for the font weight property once again. Here we have it. And we can see it's 400 now. And when we click it, we can see this thing. We can see the bold value for h1 element specified in the user agent style sheet is now crossed out because the browser found more important rule to apply to this element, which is normal for h1 element specified in index.html file at 10th line, which is exactly what we can see right here. This is our index.html file. This is 10th line of the code. And this is the rule the browser applied. We can also see it in the styles overlap, where we have all the styles for this element. We have user agent style sheet, which are the browser styles set for this element. You can see the font weight property, which was taken into account, but now it's crossed out because the browser found more important rule to apply. And we can see this more important rule right here for h1 and for font weight, which is normal, specified in our index.html file. So this is what the cascading is. Initial styles are the least important, so they are overwritten by the browser styles, which then might be overwritten by our own styles, which are the most important for the browser. But what if we will get in our own styles, which are the most important, two different rules matching for the same element? Which one of them will be more important? For example, let's create another rule, which will be something like this. As we know, reading from the end, the h1 element, which is a child of a body element. Now let's set our font weight back to normal. And let's see what's gonna happen. Let's save our file. Of course, nothing happened because that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to set the font weight to bold once again. And this is the effect I wanted to gain. As you can see, our heading is bold once again. So somehow the browser choose this rule as more important than this rule. Let's see it in our DevTools. In our styles overlap, we can see the browser styles where we have font weight set to bold, which is crossed out. Then we have more important rule for H1 element, which is font weight normal in our index.html file at line 10, which is also crossed out because the browser found more important rule, which is set to H1 element, which is a child of a body. And its font weight is set to bold. We can find this rule in index.html file at line 14. And this is the most important CSS rule for this element. Let's see it in the computed tab. And we can see it like this. Font weight is set to 700. As we might guess, we have all these styles matching for this element. The first one is from the user agent style sheet, which are the styles of the browser, set to bold for the H1 element. Then we get normal value for H1 element as well, set by us in the index.html file. But the most important one, the one that is taken into account right now and is not crossed out, is the one that is for the H1 element, which is a child of a body. This is very important, and this is the way the cascading works and chooses the most important rule. But why the single H1 selector is less important than a selector specifying the H1 tag being a child of a body tag? That's what we are going to learn in this section.